If you're one of my 7 subscribers, first off, thank you. But you already know, I've been stuck in an absolute graveyard of terrible, bottom of the barrel horror movies. My brain cells were ready to commit necrosis. But today we're breaking the curse. Because a few years ago, a little indie movie called Vicious Fun dropped, and it genuinely lives up to its name. I enjoyed this one a lot. But it must have caught COVID like the rest of the 2020 movies, because I've never heard of it. If you're a sucker for a good horror movie score like I am, you are going to lose your mind over this one. It's top tier. Pretty much John Carpenter's The Fog or Phantasm level. Almost up there. I literally pre-ordered the Obsession vinyl soundtrack, okay? I am serious about this stuff, and this movie hits the ground running. Right away, we get this beautiful classic 80s setup. Slasher vibes, great mood, a creepy atmospheric motel, and a brilliant POV car shot straight out of a retro thriller. I will not mention this movie by name, though. The killer picks up a hitchhiker. You think you know exactly what's going to happen, and boom, plot twist. The woman kills him instead. We are less than 5 minutes in, and I am locked in. And then we meet our main character. Meet Joel. Joel is an awkward, slightly pathetic, but ultimately pretty likable horror film critic who runs a magazine called Vicious Fanatics. And I can obviously relate. He's trying to sell a movie script about a killer taxi driver to a producer who could not care less. But they really are the perfect killers. But Joel's real problem is his roommate Sarah. He has a massive crush on her. How big of a crush? Well, she goes on a date with this guy named Bob, and Joel literally gets a taxi to stalk his car. Yeah. Dynamic character trait, or is he really on his way to buy a One-Wish Willow? We'll get back to that later. Anyways, Joel follows Bob to a Chinese bar and restaurant and starts talking to Bob using a fake name. Turns out Bob mentions that his date talked about her loser roommate. Then Bob leaves and puts his drinks on Joel's tab. What an asshole. Who does that? Well, I guess this came out right at the beginning of the pandemic, but today, that shit's expensive. So, what does Joel do? He wallows in his own pity, gets completely blackout drunk, and passes out in a storage closet. When he wakes up, the restaurant is locked, but there's a light on in the back room. Joel wanders into a private meeting. He thinks it's an AA meeting or a self-help group. It is not. It's a private support group for active serial killers. And for some reason, the whammy guy from Anchorman is just casually sitting there. One of the best parts about this movie is the killers all represent different serial killer archetypes. You've got a massive, brainless, aggressive brute, and then you've got a cold, calculated accountant who treats murder like a spreadsheet and dresses like a clown. Quick pro tip for the clown killer. If you're going to base your entire identity on the movie Stitches, we already know all we have to do is break your egg. Probably not the wisest tactical choice, my guy. Better study up on your clown lore. And the support group dynamic is amazing, because it feels like a terrible corporate team building exercise, except instead of complaining about the break room microwave and the color of the walls, they're debating the best way to get away with murder. The group thinks Joel is a new member named Phil, so Joel plays along, using his rejected taxi driver movie script to blend in. It sounds kind of like an edgy teenager's first attempt at writing a creepypasta, and I'm surprised he didn't tell them his name was Travis Bickle. But the scene is tense, and everyone believes him, until there's a knock at the door. It's Bob, the smug asshole who went on a date with Joel's roommate earlier. Yeah, fuck that guy. But Bob is also a killer. He blows Joel's cover instantly, and the group decides to hunt Joel down. Now, I really like the first 35 minutes of this movie, but right here, the movie hits a few major speed bumps. Some of the editing and dialogue gets a little cringy, very cringy, and Bob does this Uh, he puts a song on the jukebox and just starts dancing. What is this? Why is he dancing? It completely killed the momentum for me. It was really, really weird, and I felt secondhand embarrassment. I wouldn't be surprised if he started hitting the whip and the nay-nay. And honestly, during this middle stretch, the movie leans way less into funny horror comedy and way more into pure, unadulterated cringe. Not quite Scary Movie 6, though. 3 out of 5, by the way, if you're wondering. Thankfully, Carrie, the woman from the very beginning of the movie who turns out to be a secret assassin hunting down serial killers like a Mission Impossible version of Dexter, steps in to help Joel, and she does not play around. She is out here cutting off fingers and choking dudes with intestines. She's basically unstoppable. But the moment this movie completely redeems itself for me and goes from cringy to laugh out loud funny is when they end up at the police station. The cops in this movie are absolute gold. They are stupid as hell and say stuff like, "You're so full of shit, your eyes are brown." I have never heard that in my entire life. Maybe I just live under a rock, but I am stealing it immediately and using it if anyone tries to tell me Alien Covenant is even remotely a good movie. 5 seconds later, the cop threatens Joel with his fist and says, "I'll put one of these in your suckhole." Suckhole? Exceptional dialogue. Exceptional dialogue. My absolute favorite meta moment happens when one of the cops finds a copy of Joel's horror magazine and just casually starts explaining to the other cops the horror genre and how it blends with other styles. It's a beautiful nod to the audience. This movie was made for us horror fans. But the peak of the movie is when Bob shows up dressed as an FBI agent wearing a hilariously fake mustache. Joel is screaming at the cops like, "Dude, that's a fake mustache." And the cops completely lose their minds defending it. "You don't insult a man's mustache! You don't insult a man's mustache!" Pure cinema, and I loved every second of it. By the time the third act rolls around, the killers invade the precinct, and Carrie turns full-on Scarlett Johansson from the movie Lucy. I don't know if you even remember that movie, but oh well. Watching her slice through these idiots required about 10% of my brain power in the absolute best way possible. It is pure, glorious popcorn entertainment. But seriously, Cody Callahan, I need answers. Why was there a popcorn maker inside the police evidence locker? What case did that come from? Or was it just put in there next to the scary movie popcorn buckets in case they get the munchies while sifting through the evidence? Underneath all the chaos and Bob stabbing people in the ear canals with pencils, the movie actually drops a surprisingly grounded message. Carrie calls out Joel about his creepy crush on his roommate, basically telling him you can't trick or force someone into loving you. A nice little reminder that Joel's behavior is a little toxic. And to top it all off, I really like the ending, and I would be willing to watch a sequel, but I know there will never be one. Not enough people watch this film. I'm giving Vicious Fun a 4 out of 5. I really, really like this movie. It was clearly made by horror fans, for horror fans. It treats the genre with respect, while having a blast making fun of the tropes. It was exactly what I needed after sitting through disappointing and shitty movies. If you want a highly refreshing 80s drenched horror comedy to watch tonight, I highly recommend Vicious Fun, especially if you are like me and are just a sucker for a good score. But that being said, this movie's probably not going to be for everyone. Some people may just find it stupid, or I don't know, maybe it's cringy to them the entire way through. But I don't know, that wasn't my experience. Let me know in the comments if you've seen this one, or if you're still out there insulting mustaches. Let me know what you thought of it. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.